How to solder in 5 minutes.
Alright, so first we're going to do an inline solder on 2 wires. Now they have little tools to strip the insulation off these, but if you squeeze it just right with a pair of dikes, we're going to shoot for about a ½ inch there. You cut it just barely enough to cut the plastic, and then you can expose the wires like that. And we'll do the same with this. And that gives us 2 exposed wires. And so for an inline splice, what we're going to do is first form it in an X. So we're going to form it in an X like this and twist it around itself like that. And once it's held together on its own, get that focused in, we'll go ahead and solder that. So the microscope isn't required for this, but we can go ahead and stick it under there anyway. Alright, so the key to soldering is have fresh solder on your tip. What happens is the rosin in the rosin core solder burns off, and it will eventually leave charred metal on your tip. And solder without rosin won't stick to metal. So what we're going to do first, let's stick the tip down there so you can see how it's not all that clean. So we're going to put fresh solder on it, and to make this a little easier, I'm going to burn off a little piece of solder so we don't have to use the big roll. And so let's put some fresh solder on that tip. And once we kind of get the tip all soldered up, I'm going to shake it off. And now that we have fresh solder, I'm going to put that tip underneath this bonding point and wait till it heats up the joint and apply the solder to the joint. I'll do another one for you. And so there you can see once I pull the solder away, I still hold the iron on long enough to let the solder get all soaked in. And so now that's well bonded. So I'm going to fix up another one for Athena to do. There's your solder. And we're going to form an X like that and just start twisting them together. All right, and put them right in our little helping hands there. Now, do you remember what I said? What was the key to soldering?
Putting fresh...
Yes, fresh solder on your tip. So go ahead and solder up the tip and then flick the solder off, but don't flick it onto the carpet.
Okay.
You can flick it over here. Just put enough on so it looks like you have a drop that's going to fall off. And then go ahead and flick it off. Now some people clean it off, but my theory is it's helpful to have a little bit of fresh solder on there, and when you clean it off, it takes too much of the solder off. Okay, go ahead while your rosin is still fresh on the iron. Go ahead and let that hand rest on the ground, and give it a second just to heat that up and come up just right there. There you go. And go ahead and apply your solder to the joint and wait for it to start to melt. There it goes. Okay, pull your solder away. We'll keep the iron there just long enough to get it soaked in and take it away. And that's a pretty good soaked in solder joint.
Do you think we should do it a little bit more?
Yeah, maybe. You can go ahead and add a little more if you want. So you should be able, yeah, just apply it right where the iron is and let it soak outward on its own. There you go, that's good. That's perfect. Go ahead and take the iron away. So we'll put that away. And that's a good joint. So if you tried to pull that apart, you wouldn't be able to pull that apart. That's a good joint. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cover it. You could put electrical tape on it.
I'm pretty sure we'd be using about...
So what this is a little assortment of shrink, of wire shrink. And so what you do is you just put it over your exposed wire and then just give it a little bit of heat to shrink it down.
Yeah, this one's about the size.
Okay, see if you can slip it on there. Let's cut that wire off so you can see how it goes on there.
Okay. Jeez, a little pointy at the end.
So what we'll do is we'll just wag that under there.
Wait, can I do it? Because I might burn my fingers.
No, you won't, I won't burn your fingers.
If I'm scared that you might.
If I do, you just let me know, okay? All right, put that under the microscope so you can see what we did.
Let's put that.
That's okay, you can probably hold it.
Mm.
So there it is, shrunk down to give us some shrink insulation on our wire. What do you think?
Looks good.
Okay, let's do some pin headers. For pin headers, what we're going to do is we're going to just work on this little board we have set up. And what we're going to do is we have a bunch of, an assortment of various pin headers. And what you can do is get like, you can buy an assortment pack of this for cheap, and then you have enough to last you for just forever. And then we'll use one of these little prototyping shields here, which is also very cheap. And then for the price of a cup of coffee, you can become an expert at pin headers, basically. So let's get one hooked up in there. So what we're going to do is we have this double rail set of pin headers that I cut to fit this board. And so we'll stick it right down there. And the board itself is really light, so by hooking these glad hands onto it, by these helping hands, it just gives us a little bit of stability. The same theory applies. The key to soldering is have fresh solder on your tip. And if your tip's been sitting for a while, the rosin burns off and your solder won't stick to anything. So I'm going to take a bit of solder here, and let's get our camera focused in. So the way I solder these, and I'm not by no means an expert. I'm a hobbyist. You know, that's my skill level as a hobbyist. And so I do this so I can, you know, if I get like a board that I want to solder pin headers on, I don't want to ruin it. So let's find out where we are. Okay, so we're right down here. So I'm going to put some fresh solder on my tip and flick it off before I start going there. And then what I do is I put my tip on one side and my solder on the other side. And then let that soak around. I'm trying to look back and forth between the... There we go. Yeah, I'll let you do a couple. Let me get one done well before I... Okay, that one looks pretty.
Is that like the plastic melting?
No, it's the rosin in the solder. The solder has a hollow tube inside, and it has a sort of a flux that helps the solder stick to the metal parts. Okay, Athena, you ready to try?
Yep.
Okay. So there's the iron. There's your solder. Now you want to have your wrist on the tip there, and if do you want to bring that closer to you, because for me it helps to have it right close. And I'm actually looking at the work. I'm not looking at the screen. I use the microscope to see how I did, really. And so if you look at some of those, some of them are like halfway, and some of them are pretty decent. So all right, you're ready to go there. There you go, good, take it away, good. Oh, look at that, that's so beautiful. Do it again, just like that. Okay, you're almost there. Touch them both in. There you go. Okay, it's pretty good. Got about half of it. That's not perfect, but that would make a good electrical connection.
My fingers are getting too close.
So try and have your solder and your iron pointing in from opposite directions. Right now you're bringing your solder in on top. Instead, bring it in from the side like this. Kind of like you were holding two pencils. Good. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. And so what happens when you're working on a real board is there's sensitive parts on there and you don't want to heat them up and melt them, so you want to make a quick solder and then get your heat away. Good. Okay, I'm going to move your work a little bit so we can... Actually, there's another row there. You can start on the next row.
Holy cow, I can solder! So I'm like 10, and if I can do it, you can do it. You saw it on video. So zap that like button and don't forget to subscribe. So go, learn to solder. Oh, and don't burn down your house. We are not responsible if you burn down your house.